How's it going? I'm James, and welcome back to Storytime with James. Make sure you like, subscribe, and leave me a comment if you like. All right, this one is called Trouble at Cabrini Greens. Yes, man. This story is about the Cabrini Greens housing projects. Okay, this is where they filmed good times after this project. This is in Chicago, Illinois, the housing projects. Okay, these projects were on the near north side of Chicago. Of Chicago. They was riddled with crime and poverty. You know, and these projects were infamous for crimes. Okay. Yes, yes. Anyway, I was working at the Chicago Tribune Freedom Center. Okay, and while working there, I met my friend named O. You know, O. So me and O was talking, and O told me, he said, hey, come walk to the store with me. You know, now look, keep in mind that the Chicago Tribune Freedom Center is on the near north side too. Okay. So I told him, I said, okay, let's stab out. Let's go. So we start walking, We was on our breaks anyway, so we start walking. And O was kind of a big guy, kind of buff guy. So we was walking, and we got to the store, and he bought an Italian beef. So shoot, I got me one too. Yeah, I had to get me one. Those things are good, man. Anyway, we got the Italian beef, and then we started walking back to the Chicago Tribune Freedom Center. And we was walking. This shawty came up. Shawty came running up, and he jumped up and snatched Old's hat. Snatched his hat. It wasn't just any hat. It was a Kango. Those Kangos, the ones that LL Cool J used to wear and stuff like that. They was very popular back in those days. This was like in the 90s or late 80s, early 90s. This hat they was very popular. Those Kangos. So anyway, when he snatched his hat, we start chasing, running after. We was running after, and that little cat cut into the gate of the Cabrini Greens housing projects. And I stopped right there at the gate. Because I've heard about those projects many times. I heard about those projects, how infamous they were, how police were afraid to go in there and stuff like that. So I didn't go in there. But O kept chasing this guy. So the little guy ran all the way through and went through to the hallway. He got inside and went to the hallway. And when they got in there, it was about 6 or 7 guys waiting on O to come in. And they beat him down. Yes, they beat him down. 6 or 7 guys. And I was still back at the gate, I wasn't stupid enough to go in there, So then, they gave him a 10-minute a 10-minute beating. Gave him a 10-minute beating. And apparently they let him go. They told him to get out of their stuff. So O came running back. He came running to me. He came where I was at the gate. And I said, let's go. And we stopped. We ran like half a block. And then we started walking. So O had black eyes. He had knots on his head. His mouth was leaking, leaking out his nose and everything. And he looked at me and said, man, why you come and help me? And I said, are you crazy? Are you crazy? Are you cool? Man, do you know where you are? You lucky that they didn't unalive you. You lucky they didn't unalive you. So count your blessings. You lucky they didn't unalive you. So we got back to the uh to the Chicago Tribune Freedom Center, and he went. He snuck in. He didn't want nobody to see him like that. So he went in the bathroom, washed his face and stuff like that, and that was it. Man, he was crazy. That's my first experience, my first and only experience that I had at the Cabrini Greens. Because after especially after that happened, I never went around those projects. Plus, I stayed on the south side anyway. I ain't got no business going over there. But it's crazy. Like I told him, I told old man, look, they sent the shouty out there to take your hat or snatch something from you, and they run inside of there, and they be standing against the wall in the hallway, and they wait for people to chase them, and they always screw the light bulb out. So they wait for somebody to chase them in there, and then they get them. And to come find out, they took his money, they went in his pockets, took his wallet and everything like that. So I'm telling you, don't ever chase no one into the projects. I don't care what projects it is. I don't care what projects it is. Projects are projects. If they try to get you to chase them in there, if you stupid enough to follow them in there, hey, prepare for a beatdown. Yes. Yeah. But those projects were demolished in the early 90s until 2011. That's when they were finished with it. 2011. So they tore those projects down. All right, you guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, and leave me a comment if you like. And hit that bell notification. Hit that bell notification so that you know every time I drop another video. And share, share, share. Share my videos with your family. Share my videos with your friends. Share my videos with your loved ones. And even share it with your enemies. Peace. Adios. Salamit. Be smart. Be smart. All right.